This book talks a lot about intimacy. Tell us more about what people can do to improve intimacy.
Well, my first answer is actually that intimacy starts with self. That without really knowing yourself, how you tick, what you need in order to feel well, how much space you need, how much connection you need, intimacy with another person would be very difficult. So, the first step in intimacy, I feel, is some kind of a practice, either a meditation practice, a physical practice, or even regular time in nature where you are really connecting with yourself without all the distractions of modern life so that you know you. And then intimacy with another, I feel, is about openness. It's about opening to connecting with another person in presence, about prioritizing that time with the other person so that you really see and hear, feel, and sense them. So bringing the sensory in as well as the special time is what I feel is intrinsic to building intimacy with others. I see so many people, though, being very much about doing something with the other without first having a foundation of self intimacy. And a lot of time that leads to issues because intimacy can really trigger people. So without a practice where you can come back to yourself when you're triggered, intimacy can create a lot of triggers where people may blame one another for wounds or for things that aren't going well. So what I've found to be very useful in intimacy is to come and share with another, but then know myself enough where if I'm not feeling grounded, if I'm not feeling compassionate, to kind of pull into myself and work with that before I go and I talk to my partner. So it's not just opening everything. There is a sense of knowing yourself enough to be responsible so that your intimacy creates a positive and compassionate environment for the two of you to grow together and not just about, spending time together and having fun.
I think it comes down to a couple of things. The first is presence, as May mentioned. That is being really present for your partner and for yourself. So, for example, and it's particularly apparent in lovemaking. When you're making love to your partner, look into their eyes, touch them, touch their face, participate in the process. Don't just be box checking when you're making love. Really do it and really feel it and experience there and be in your body and not in your head. Don't be thinking about who's taking the kids to soccer practice on Thursday. Don't be thinking about, how much work you're going to have to do tomorrow in the office because you didn't get your assignment done today. Don't be thinking about what you're going to be watching on Netflix after you're done. Don't be fantasizing about that hot-looking actor that was in the movie you just watched. Be really there for your partner. And that's not just restricted to lovemaking. It's in everyday activities, that every opportunity that you're interacting with your partner is an opportunity to deepen intimacy. So be physically present when you're having a conversation. Look into their eyes. Listen to actually what they're saying. And, I'm not suggesting that we all spend 24/7 with one another. We go mad if we did that. We all need our own space, right? But when you are having that interaction, and it is a sincere interaction, pay attention, be there, be right there with them. And that has so much power to know that your partner is your focus of their attention, and they know that you are focusing on them. The other key element is that of vulnerability. And that's a difficult one. If you want to be intimate with somebody, you need to let them in, and they need to let you in. And what I mean by that is we're all wounded in some way. Some of us are very seriously wounded through physical abuse or sexual abuse or psychological or emotional abuse. And, that makes you want to close in and keep people out because it feels safer that way. And even, people who have, perfect childhoods, for example, and don't suffer any abuse like that. We all suffer insults. We all suffer slights. We all suffer disappointments. We all suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, right? And so all that makes you want to put up armor and keep other people out. But you have to let that armor down to let the other people in, to open your heart to your partner. Otherwise, there can be no intimacy. You're just kind of locked in your own little world. So, and that takes time, and it's hard. It takes time, and it takes trust, and it takes some healing. You have to kind of look at yourself, as Esme was saying, and understand, why do I feel that I have to close down so much? Why can't I open? And that's where the magic of the sexual energy comes in, and the healing power of the sexual energy, because the sexual energy not only illuminates your triggers and your things that make you feel a little bit ooky, it gives you if you embrace it and run it and channel it, it gives you the power and the incentive to drop some of that armor. Because the more you drop your armor, the deeper the intimacy becomes, the deeper the intimacy, the more fantastic the sexual energy is, which helps the healing, which deepens the intimacy, which makes the sex even better. And so it's a self-licking ice cream cone after a while. It just becomes this very, very powerful and delicious and fun experience. And so that's really the key to the intimacy. And I thought it would be kind of fun if we could, Esme and I could share a couple little intimacy practices with the audience. Do you want to give that a try?
First, I want an ice cream. But yes, let's give that a try.
Sure.
So the first practice we want to share is called the appreciation practice. And this can be done with a partner or even with a friend or a parent. And basically, you say something you appreciate about the other person.
Esme, I appreciate how you show up so fully to our relationship when we travel so far to see one another.
Thank you, Terence. Terence, I appreciate the presence that you give me when you touch me. The presence you give me is very healing and very calming. And at the same time, it really has helped my body open up and receive more pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Esme, I appreciate how enthusiastically you show up for our co-creating our book project. It's really exciting and rewarding to experience that. So thank you.
Yeah, so that's the appreciation practice. I want to share another practice that's a little bit edgier, but still very intimacy producing. So often we know what we want from our partner, and we even know the things we want from our partner that our partner probably won't give us. And what happens over time is we kind of push that away. Like, oh, I'm not going to get that, so I'm not going to ask for it. Or if I ask for it, this person better give it to me. So there's a practice called a longing practice. And the longing practice is about the power of longing and the power of communicating longing and the power of being vulnerable with your partner. So when you confess a longing to your partner, it's really not about when are they going to meet it. You don't start a timer and say, okay, now that I've told you, 2 months. No, it's about opening yourself up to a level of vulnerability and sharing that. And the beauty of it is all the partner has to do is say, thank you for that longing. So you make an agreement ahead of time that this is about vulnerability. This is about sharing your deepest desires and not about problem solving. So, for example, Terence, I long to live closer to you so that we can see each other more often.
Thank you for that longing, Esme. Esme, I long to share a mountain cabin with you where we can get away and be together and share our energy.
Thank you, Terence. So, yeah, that's the longing practice.
Yeah, so both of these practices that we described, we generally sit face to face, looking into each other's eyes, holding hands, in kind of an intimate pose. So it's really an exercise in presence and it's an exercise in vulnerability. I'd like to just describe another practice, which is kind of fun, and we won't demonstrate it for you, but we'll describe it. Whenever we need to have a challenging conversation in which one might get triggered, or there might be some energetic charge involved in the conversation, what we do is we sit on a love seat facing one another, and we take off our socks and shoes, and we present each other with our feet. And so we start to do a mutual foot rub with one another. And after a few minutes of that, we begin to have the conversation that we need to have, whether it's about the next time we're coming to visit, or some other challenging topic or something like that where there might be some emotional charge. And we find that it's really difficult to get angry with somebody when they're rubbing your feet. And it's really difficult to kind of lash out and say something nasty about somebody who's rubbing your feet. And if you feel that if you start to get triggered by the conversation, you know that because of the physical connection that you're experiencing with this person, your partner, they are actually giving you love in a very physical and embodied way, much more powerful than saying, I love you. You're actually touching their feet and giving them pleasure while they're getting triggered. So they know they're being held for that point of vulnerability that they're experiencing. And it's really it's an awesome practice, and it's not sexual, but it's very sensual. You can do that in front of your kids if you really want to freak them out. It's really pretty fun. And we find that we actually use this practice a lot, even when it comes down to like deciding where we're going to go for dinner or something like that. It's like, hey, why not? Let's rub each other's feet while we talk about this. So it's kind of a fun, playful thing, as well as being very effective at mitigating or not smoothing over, but facilitating some of the more difficult discussions that we might need to have.
Thanks, Terence. I have amazing memories of foot rubs from you. This also brings up something that I feel very strongly about, is that a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about intimacy or talking about difficult topics. And while that can bring up intimacy or bring more intimacy, often it's not supposedly that comforting if you're talking about difficult topics. But physical intimacy, human to human, is very, very healing. Touch is very healing. It helps increase oxytocin, which is really good for our brains. And it goes a long way in developing trust and relationship. And sometimes I find that in this society, people get very intellectual about relationships and partnerships. They want to define roles and make plans for the future. And what I have to say is, get very present time, holding someone's hand when they're upset, giving someone a massage when they're sore, rubbing feet when you want to talk about something and you know that it might be difficult for you or your partner. Giving physical compassion and physical touch enhances intimacy in a way that, goes beyond, everything you can talk about. Because on some level, we are physical beings. And though we love our ideas, we love touch just as much. So that's my plug for foot rubs and embodiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.